Good afternoon, Bitcoiners. Hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. I thought you'd get a bit of a better view, but that's okay. I'm not complaining. Let me see. It cuts the whole building in two. There we are. You see some telltale signs of Dubai behind me. I didn't realize before I go live the screen's a lot smaller, so I thought you were going to be getting a slightly cooler view, but that's okay. We're doing fine. Let me know how the audio is coming through, everyone. I got the annoying chat system again today, I'm afraid. I still have not figured out how to get my Rumble chatters where I need them, where I want them. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. There's everyone. Nolan and the Traveling Awakeners. Good morning, all, says JJ Fox. Glad to see you all on a happy Monday. Stack damn cheap sats. Good morning, Hassan. Hope you're doing well. It's Groundhog Day. It sure is Groundhog Day. I didn't see what Pugsatani did. If someone can put in the chat if the shadow has been perceived or not, let me know. Let me know. Good morning, folks. Happy stacking. Let's roll. YouTube is asshole. Okay, CB Van. Good morning. We all must be excited what Satoshi has finally been identified by the internet. It was Jeffrey Epstein. Genius. Good morning, folks. Good morning, JJ Fox and crew. Can confirm sunrise in Nashville. Heat tech seems broken, though. It was warm in El Salvador, but cold in Miami last night. So confusing. JJ Fox, hello. Heat tech has been fixed in North Texas. Will be 70s this week. Heat wave in Illinois, currently 27. Nick Shirley's in California, and he's turning up the heat. We love it. We love it. Looking forward to Groundhog Day sale. Bitcoin saw its shadow. And we'll have 6 more months of a discount. JJ Fox, nice studio. It sure is. Audio is awesome. Great audio. Rumble Chatters is the best. Punxsutawney just saw his shadow at Gobbler's Knob. 6 more weeks of winter. Oh, well, what are you going to do, huh? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's been a long winter, I think. It has been a long winter. And I'll have a look at the YouTube chat. How's everyone? Welcome back, YouTubers. Welcome back, Kevin, Christine. Hope you're all doing well. We're going to be doing an old-fashioned YouTube style episode today. I don't have all afternoon. I'm still tired. Today was the last day, so it's a busy, busy time. I chose not to go out and all that. I'm going to take it easy, but end of a long weekend. The event that I'm at here that I'm working at, right? I produce the roundtable. So when you do all of the content and conversations and all that stuff, it's a lot of hands-on work because it's an unconference, right? Everything gets built on site. There isn't an agenda that you put together beforehand. Everyone's kind of a speaker, but it's great. There's a lot of old Bitcoiners here and a lot of fun. And so I've had a great time. Obviously, lots to talk about. So I wanted to connect with all of you this morning because I thought, well, morning where you are. Who knows where you are? You're everywhere in the world, but I'm still mentally in North America, even though I'm in Dubai, because we're talking about North America, of course. So we're going to be doing an old-fashioned. I'm not going to be screen sharing. I didn't really have time to pull up all of the tweets and everything, but I have pretty developed thoughts already on all of the news this weekend, and so we'll still be able to go over the news. I still have it all in a coherent order. So for those of you who weren't around in the old YouTube days, we never used to do screen sharing. We used to just talk and have a good time, and I'd order things and it would be a little more storytelling-ish. So if you're used to the new system, this one's just a little bit like the old system. If you like the old system, then you're gonna like this one. And you're not gonna be able to go for 2 hours. It's getting too late here, so we're gonna enjoy the sunset together. I can't even drink coffee because if I have coffee now, I'll spoil the sleep to which I am absolutely looking forward to. But like I said, I wanted to hang out with all you guys and talk about it. So SunTech indeed operational. I have the last vestiges of it here in the Gulf Coast. You guys just missed one of the reasons why I had the idea to do the show here. It's a friend's room. It's not the same room as you saw the other day. So I just had a different view, different side of the hotel. And all the American jets were just flying around. And because they're all stationed here, all the battleships are out there and the aircraft carriers and everything. So they just did a big show all around the city, putting out the flag of the UAE as they flew by, and it was really an incredible thing. We just missed the show. I mean, it was, it was going on for a little while, so kind of a bummer. But check it out on Twitter. It was actually pretty cool, but it would have been neat if it was happening behind us. They've turned to us at one point, and these airplanes are, I don't know what they are just by looking at them, but they're looking more and more like X-Wings from Star Wars. It looked like a real X-Wing squadron coming out. So there you go. It was pretty neat. You might see some cool boats and stuff back there, but that is indeed downtown Dubai. Dusty air today. I'll tell you, the air quality out there is thick with dust, so I don't think you're going to see the Burj Khalifa, but I'm hoping you'll be able to see the lights when it gets a bit darker and the skyline lights up. I think you will have a chance to see a bit of the skyline. So we're going to start by talking about all the fun stuff. Oh, let's finish. Bitcoin's running. Sun is up. My colleagues and friends have just come in. But nothing else to really worry about in the world, right? Things are going great. Let's have a coffee or water or whatever and talk about what's new. We love it. All right. So when you look at all that's going on with all the Epstein file stuff as a Bitcoiner, right? We're doing this as Bitcoiners. Now, when I got into Bitcoin, I already saw how corrupt the media was, and I already saw how it didn't jive. There was something else going on that was beyond logic and couldn't be explained just by people being stupid or evil. That wasn't even enough. And so when you saw how the media operating system functioned and how little it represented reality, like I said, I saw, working for executive branch politics, exactly how much the system could be perverted by an absolutely terrible media. And I don't mean terrible again, like, are they stupid? Are they evil? Something else is there. As Mike Benz and everyone else who kept a close eye on this media architecture of deceit, I'd come at it from the banking angle, so I could see that there was something going on that didn't make sense, especially in the money laundering. I've told you before, I was in the Senate Banking Committee working on the money laundering study before I found Bitcoin. So I could already see that architecture didn't make sense. They weren't catching anyone. And I knew for a fact Canada was a money laundering country. I could tell. I had played a game for years as a young man, pointing at buildings that I thought made no sense, pizzerias that weren't doing business. It was very obvious, right? So as I went through this process of realizing there was something else rotten in the media, I was fine with just filing under entropy with many questions, but saying, okay, systems break. We're not going to cry about it. We have to absolutely change what's going on. And as a Bitcoiner, or as someone who found Bitcoin at the time, I was open to something totally new. And of course, Bitcoin presented that. And right away, because I knew how bad things were, or I had a perception just being on the front row of how bad things were, and because that opened up an appetite for systemic change, you have to look at what levers could change everything. And of course, when you perceive Bitcoin, you see that's possible. And what you also realize at the time is that the theme of this show, right, which Scott Adams articulated well, and I've many times copied on the show, which is that the economy is a psychological engine, and that the ability for commercial relationships to perpetuate, come together, break apart, are a reflection of the types of psychology that motivate and fuel this perpetuation, right? And so when you could start to see the architecture of deceit, you could see that something like the blackmailocracy that we were living in was there. It explained a lot. It fit the pieces, and you didn't have to hallucinate more than knowing that blackmail was happening at scale and was more than just a one-off phenomenon. It was the actual operating system. And I was already off of politics and 100% dedicated to Bitcoin. Of course, Trump drew me back an interest to politics, because of his style, because of the persuasion, because it was the first time I saw that one person could fight against the entire corrupt media system in an effective way. When you saw the first time you saw the Rosie O'Donnell moment, you said, wait a minute. Even the Mexican rapist was the first sign. I heard Mexican rapist and I was like, what is happening? This is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then he kept that rolling with his ability to polarize, to create a storyline. You know, he had the greatest, did you see this one he did this weekend? He's, you know, before we even get to the Epstein files, he's going to cause so much psychological damage this right now in Canada. So the Canadians, you know, they're asking him about, what do you think, Greenland? What's going on with Greenland? He's got his black tie. He's coming from some kind of black tie, Dan Scavino's wedding, I guess, right? So he's at Dan Scavino's wedding, and they're asking him, you know, he's in his tuxedo, you know, what about Canada and this and that? And he says, oh, they can't have that deal with China. No China deal, he says. And then he goes, because if they make a deal with China, they're going to ruin them. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to end ice hockey. They're going to end ice hockey. They're going to end ice hockey. Now, of course, it's ridiculous, but stop. What have we learned? Who cares if it's ridiculous? What has it done? Of course, Canadians go, China can't end ice hockey. What if could they end ice hockey? That's insane. Trump's crazy. They can't end ice hockey. But now no one was talking about China before. No one cared about China before. It was still, oh, Trump and China, something about a deal, Carney, China, we make him a car or something. But he says your relationship with China, the first thing they're going to do is end ice hockey. It's so crazy that it forces people to talk about it and take a side and then argue their side. But it's obviously retarded. But because you're doing the exercise, you're now suddenly asking, what could China actually do? What could China do to us? What else? Maybe not hockey, right? Maybe they couldn't influence us to hockey, but you're already measuring how much China is affecting Canadian culture by this deal. No one had done that before. No one had talked about that before. Now, of course, Trump says it with a laugh, but he's looking for the most toxic vehicle in which he can deliver the medicine. And so he just chooses hockey because he knows it's going to light brains on fire. Canadians are going to go, no fucking way. He can't ban hockey. And so I'm not in Canada. I don't need to be in Canada, but I'm telling you, if I was around those retarded Canadians, sludge people right now that were listening to this, I can tell you what their fucking reaction would be. It would be, Trump can't stop hockey. He can't do that. He's so crazy. The Chinese can't stop hockey. So look at the skill. All of a sudden, everyone's talking about China and how much they can do, and it's hilarious. So go back to what I was saying about the beginning of that period when the 2016 election happened. Trump comes on the scene. You see his persuasion powers. He's able to fight against the entire infrastructure of the media, and he's able to win. Right? Now, within that whole awakening that happened around his 2016 campaign, of which I could not get enough and was completely addicted while working on Bitcoin, and it was like my hobby, right, on the side of Bitcoin, was this stuff. And I had entered already then into this, again, like I said, stance that the war that we were in, the World War III battlefront we found ourselves on, was exactly that, psychological and economic, and both were being affected at the same time. Bitcoin was the economic part, and the psychology part was what was going on with the culture wars and persuasion and nudging and all of this stuff. And now, of course, at that time, you heard the stories, right? You heard the stories of global blackmail system, and you heard really what Trump brought to the game. And then when all of these conversations started around Trump really being recruited because of his persuasion powers, and that the capitulation tour that he went on getting Saudi Arabia involved was a little bit like Trump using the blackmail material himself, putting on the Ring of Mordor and creating new relationships, all behind the scenes. This famous sword dance. He goes through the whole capitulation tour. We all remember he loses the election. All this stuff happens, but we've already now perceived way more of the diseased machine, and you start to realize that Trump's whole kayfabe thing is 100% real. And when I saw all of the Epstein files this weekend, that's what I really concluded, that everything we've been saying here since the fake Elon fight happened in May, since Trump began. Now, remember, we've said this from day one. From day one, the moment Trump and Elon got in their fight, I said everyone was freaking out. I said wrestling. This is kayfabe. And we observed right away when he said that Trump is in the Epstein files, we observed right away, that he was creating and spurring on and provoking the widest, most thorough, explosive, persistent conversation in American history about ending the Fed. Remember why they fought. Remember why Elon Musk pointed to the Epstein files. Remember, Elon's getting his cars burnt, his company's attacked, he's got the crazies after him. It's costing him more than an arm and a leg. He's been at it for half a year, just in the administration. Forget how long he's been campaigning. It's been almost a whole year of Elon's life, and it's costing him a lot. So they break up, and Elon's mad about the money in Doge and spending the big beautiful bill, and they're fighting about the money. So Elon says to Trump, you're in the Epstein files, and that creates the kayfabe of everyone being interested, everyone now getting into the story, finally asking how much money, blackmailocracy. So he draws everyone into this narrative. They're begging for the Epstein files. Now Trump's in it, this and that. And then you get all the way to when it gets wrapped up. And it gets wrapped up when MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, comes to America. Elon comes back, the beginning of the Epstein files stuff comes out. You wait longer, you build up more tension, you build up more anticipation, and you end up getting everyone clawing for each other to find out what happened. This is the kind of stuff you can't tell people. Now, the reason you can't tell people is too crazy. It's too nuts, but it looks absolutely 100% true. It looks like this is exactly what Trump has been doing from the very beginning, and he's been fighting against these persuaders that were able to send emails because it didn't even look like they were ever afraid that. Yo. There we go. And indeed, I saw China is taking him to school as far as tech goes, even while being held back by the US. They made a supercritical CO2 engine 80% more efficient than steam-driven engines. So, I'm back. So what you're saying about China is true, because it looks like this system does even go back to that, let's call it, you go to the financial crisis, reading everything we're reading from the Epstein files, even the information we're learning about the Greek banks. I don't know if you guys have seen the Greek bank story, right? So the Greek banks look like they were stolen by the Germans and the French to pay their problems with the financial crisis. And so when you add up what Epstein looks like and all of this stuff with the Greek banks, the Vatican Bank, Middle East, he wasn't Mossad or CIA or anything. He was just infrastructure. He was just part of all of the system to move money around and to wield these tools to whoever was in business. And it usually was Democrats, but abroad it was other countries and other instances, of course. But it looks like mostly left-wing people around the world. with very few exceptions, it looks like, because it's the institutions themselves. It's the Harvard, it's the places in which they operated that were needed for that kind of systemic control. Looks like it was right out of the banking infrastructure that came out of the City of London. It looks like it goes back to, like many have said, if you've seen the recent Promethean action videos, the Lord Palmerston foreign policy in England, when right after the 1800s, right after really the lesson of the Revolutionary War, the British realized they can't maintain their empire. So they have to start learning how to divide and conquer in order to keep their financial system dictating reality for people. Again, it's a psychological and economic war. It might have started before, but we have a clear instance that this British, as opposed to American system, begins in the 1820s in England and sets up the Civil War, of course, the first economic division of the United States, and really tries to subjugate the American system to this banking system. And that perpetuates all the way through. That fight continues. And now, when you look at what Trump has done from 2016 and you look at what's happened now, you can tell that this infrastructure was there. That's why they didn't worry about getting caught. You should hear the things they're saying about people's right to own homes. And I'm not even getting into the crazy shit right now. I'm just talking about their not financial geniuses, but understanding that they can dictate reality by controlling the financial system the way they did and using all of this blackmail type material. So when you think about what happened with China in all of this, to bring it up and to realize that Trump is indeed making these allyships, like with Saudi Arabia, to bring it back to that coalition type conversation. Because I have two predictions that I'll make to this that will confirm whether or not we're fully right, and I think they'll happen by the end of the year. So the China piece looks like in 08 around, when you see China's energy curve go skyrocketing, it looks like China decides to try to get away from the same system that was controlling America, controlling Europe, controlling all these places. And they did it with a version of the American system, which is pump energy into things and just try and go for it, right? And not the banking stuff. Now, this was very good for us Bitcoiners. Remember, this defection, if you will, of China from that order, for them to ignore the fake global warming scam and to go hard on energy, including coal, because coal is great, and just go hard on the energy and not listen to these idiots because they knew it was the right thing. They go and build all this energy. That incubated our industry, don't forget, right? Because that cheap energy that they just had so much of is how a lot of the Bitcoin mining was created, and a lot of the hardware and silicon and everything that went into the early Bitcoin industry being spawned out of China that way was, important. So when you look at what China was doing, sort of defecting, trying to defect from this system and seeing if they can go for it and make it on their own, maybe they had a chance, right? Who knows? It was better than keeping under the system that would have dictated their future. So, I mean, this is what I mean. You can tell all of this from the Epstein files. You can tell from this information that something like a financial infrastructure was running the world. China had its chance to get out. They tried it. They went for it. Good for them. They're doing great. We got to catch up in other ways. But what we were actually seeing was this with Trump, and this persuasion and this use of kayfabe was the only way out of this economic system, because of the hypnosis, because of the projection of reality that it had created between fears and wants and an incentive model. Just like there was a great article on Twitter this weekend, "Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome," by Jason Calacanis. And I've always, as far as people go, I've always told you Jason Calacanis is another one of these slightly wrestling-ish guys, right? We're dealing with kayfabe a lot of the time here. I don't think I agree with everything. If Jason Calacanis was to lay all his cards on the table, I probably disagree with him about a lot of things. But I don't think he would be that analogous to what he really is like. I think he uses kayfabe as well. And you can see it on the show and all of that stuff on the All In podcast. he wrote a big thing this weekend called the incentives. Show me the incentives, and I'll show you the outcomes. So, when you understand these incentives, and when you understand that these incentives can actually define reality, that you can actually program people's wants and fears. That's what was so interesting about what Epstein is talking about. He's no financial genius. That's definitely true. He was getting a bunch of money from the Rothschilds. We saw one contract explicitly. He lost a bunch of money too, but that wasn't the point. He knew what the operating system really was. He understood exactly how reality was determined by pulling on economic levers. And I don't mean opinions, I mean reality. What was right, what was wrong, what was up, what was down. And what we've seen from Trump over this last couple of months is the highest level of media. It's more than kayfabe. He's been able to tilt this reality in such a way that you now see the American system coming through and contrasting with this banking system in ways that are incredible. And he's forcing people to see it by conjuring these storylines and inviting people into cheering on outcomes. And now it's very expensive in the sense that it's causing tremendous mental damage to people. I mean, the people, I saw the fake news trying to say that they're KGB. Epstein proves he's a KGB. He was KGB is everything, right? But of course, they have to use it for their own benefit. So the the projection that they are that they had created between right and wrong in order to define reality and manipulate people to that extent, that entire thing gets exposed when you really think of Epstein as just plumbing, financial and persuasion plumbing for a version of reality that was so intrinsic to the system that it tells on the system. It shows you how corrupted and evil it really is. But seeing all of this stuff, seeing all of this infrastructure, just like we learned about with the NGOs and USAID, and how the media was corrupted and how money influenced the media, the psychological part, we've seen now fully how the financial part functioned and operated. Like I said, the Greece story is almost proof positive, and the entire world of the scientists that bought into this, he's got all these Noam Chomsky and all these guys coming to the same conclusion about these same subjects, about Greece and everything, shows you how vile these institutions and the credentialists and these coordinated hypnotizers really are. And, never was it more, I guess, obvious, the contrast to Trump drawing people into this drama, Trump drawing people's attention and directing it, and him laughing. I guess it's a bad news for them, he said, right? I'm nothing to do with it. It totally vindicates me. And it does, right? There's one tip line. Remember, and I was against anything like a grand jury coming out, because a grand jury is the least credible evidence in the world. It's not the other side of the story. But this was more. These were emails and details and names and all that stuff. So the contrast is very obvious this weekend when you saw the Grammys, for example, right? So the Grammys happened the same weekend, and they look so old fashioned and without drama and never more fake. When the curtain is lifted and you saw them all yesterday, and I guess now Trump is going to sue Trevor Noah, who cares? Like, obviously, who cares, right? So Trevor Noah was making a joke, I guess, about Cardi B or something like that, and then made a joke about Trump being on Epstein Island, which is now categorically not true. Trump's going to sue him, and I think he'll win, right? He's going to get more more than a pound of flesh, and Trump even says, "I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have fun with this guy." So you can see how much amplification Trump has actually met. You can actually measure it now really clearly. how much more powerful his form of persuasion has become than the entire old system, than all of it. When you compare these two, when you look at the Grammys, which would have been full blast platform 10 years ago, full blast, he would have been unable to counter the entire Grammys. He easily did this weekend. Easily countered it. And because there was so much drama involved in the release of these files, it made everything to do with the Grammys look not just shallow and childish. It made it looked really awful and not just old and unstylish, really sinister. And I don't think it's ever, it's sort of, it went from everyone watches and it's normal and people care to, nah, I don't really care, to it's cringe and stupid and vacuous and oh my God. And then, oh, they just do political things, until this year, where now it really looks like a straight form of mental illness and absolutely nothing redeeming and just doesn't work. It looks low energy and low persuasion, and like everyone is just going to laugh at it. The ratings were low, of course, right? No one watches this stuff anymore. And so these things being the way they are, and now you see, just on the other side, you see Cardi B jumping in because they were making fun of her, something about her, something at Trump and the White House. So now she's been consuming all this content all weekend, and she's going straight at the Satanist stuff, and she's going straight at the cannibal stuff. And like, you're creating an entire circus. And that's the kind of stuff that continues to attract attention and grow in momentum, and continues to change where the battlefront and the battle lines are, as far as what's acceptable to say and what isn't, and how much we agree on and how much reality we think we know. And so it continues to get pushed in that way. And and we, the other story, you get that Rosa Parks story this weekend. There's a video going real viral. I don't know the guy's name, but that's another one where you can see just how long this has been going on. That was an op. Like, Rosa Parks was an op. She went on multiple buses that day back in Alabama, and until someone kicked her off. And they were looking to create these narratives, and that this has been going on for a long time, and probably won't stop. I mean, Trump is doing it too, right? He is obviously a narrative creator and a narrative spinner, and he enters you into not the truth, closer to the truth. Nothing like what we saw from Joe Biden, for example, who said he ran for president because Trump said Nazis were very fine people, which was a complete lie and a devastating lie that broke families and did terrible, tremendous damage. So when you see Trump's persuasion, when you see what's going on, it becomes very obvious why Trump was needed for the persuasion part, and why the mental illness that he causes is worth it, because you had to speed run through this stuff. You had to get drawn into the story. And the good news is now it's time for change. And going back to what I said, pretty much from the beginning of this administration, he was going to cut the foreign funding of election interference first. He was going to go after all of these blackmail, deep states, globalists, pieces of architecture. And he's ramping everything up to get to the 250th anniversary of America. And as we move towards that, and this is something that I was talking about with a lot of these Emiratis here at the round table. We had someone from SpaceX here, and anyway, we had a very interesting person, and we were talking about these, citadels, right? These new cities that Trump talks about building, these freedom cities in his as a competition. Something that I said would happen after the 250th anniversary. By about the summer, you'd start hearing more about it. Now, when you take the Greenland story again, and it's something that I've been sort of testing on people here just to see what they think. The deal Trump got with Greenland allows him to just build stuff in Greenland and it be American. So it's just old-fashioned colonialism again. The kind where you go build and you get, not the international private law, UN says we own Greenland and there's a treaty and blah, 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 nothing, all fake. He's just going to go. He's going to order one of these big companies up there. And that's what I mean. Go back to China and how China went to energy. And you can see that in the real world, America and China are competitive. They have to be. They're both going for it. They're both going to get the energy. And it's a race to have energy. And China is ahead. They are. But the United States is not going to lose that fight. And they're going to order their companies up to Greenland to start developing energy systems. They're going to bring those military nuclear reactors up there. You're going to start seeing a real colony up there, and then the map will just change. They're just going to take it because whatever they build is sovereign and American. And the more territory they occupy through building, the more of Greenland they're going to actually have. And so, and then on the flip side, just to go back to this frame of Trump fighting, using MBS and his new, Bukele and his coalition that he's built with Saudi and all this, you can see now as well that the original story from way back in the day that Trump was working with China and Russia to all go against this old system that was having people fight. You'll know it's broken when Trump gets Greenland and builds his stuff and goes hard on the energy to compete directly against China, but also when he builds a bridge between Alaska and Siberia and Russia and connects them, and then does the unthinkable, which is allow Russian oil exploration and extraction to go into Alaska to help, and sort of flipping the exploitation, the normal exploitation of goods and minerals and materials. Just a little, expertise sharing, but welcoming Russia back into partnership and economic agreement in a very sustainable way, and creating economic relationships that tie and bind all the world together in a way that would be mutually beneficial for everyone. I think he's going to get it done. I think in the next couple of months, you're going to see these real infrastructure announcements, because that's now that he's exposed the information and the psychological architecture of deceit. He's now shown that the financial system, and we've all known that as Bitcoiners, that's why it's needed more than ever to replace the financial system. All of this stuff that he's been fighting against, the Federal Reserve, all of it, looks like it was in the exact order we thought it was going to go in, for the reasons that it had to go in this order because of the consequential nature of it. And so it looks like we're going to win. And I also saw, I don't know much about soccer. You guys probably don't either, a lot of Americans here. But I guess there's this soccer, Fernando Torres, and a lot of people like him. I guess he's really great. I think he was Spanish or something and very famous and great. And he was reading the Epstein files this weekend as well. And he said, in his own Twitter handle, that everyone involved needs to be publicly executed. That's what he said. Now, what have I been saying? I got to remind him, you can actually, hey, Fernando, publicly, yeah, that could work. But there's still like TikTok and, there's a lot of competition, right? You want high ratings for that. If you're going to get it done, if you're going to go that far, and you got to make sure it never happens again. So you got to get high ratings. We all know what's coming now. We all know there's no chance. There's no choice. We got to get some kind of balloon or rocket. I'm not sure what. Test it out. Other people will know better than me. I think a balloon might be the most cost-effective way. And then you just go up to space and you drop them. You drop them. You got to drop them. It's time. It's time. We're at that point in the game. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. No choice. No choice. All right, folks. Nicki Minaj, not Cardi B. No worries. It's all fake and gay. I got your back. Yeah, I don't know who's who. Used to be a family watched event, Doug T says. A bygone era. Yeah. Who's old enough to remember when the Grammys were about music and singing? Yeah, I was just a young man, yes. Football, space drops. You got to do the space drops. Yeah, I'll give you another view. Look at the view. I think you can see, I guess you can't. Normally, you should be able to see the Burj Al Khalifa. the tallest building in the world, but you can't. It's too humid. I can sort of see it faintly. I can sort of see it faintly. I can sort of see it faintly. Core 30 and knots. Um, I think it's a hostile fork. I don't think you have to go to core 30. I think you can stay, both of them look like they introduce some risks. I like backwards compatible for life. And, I don't, I'm not worried about, I'm not worried about going forward. And I don't think we need to drive efficiency. And I'm generally anti change when it comes to this stuff. And other than that, I don't try to get too caught up in the politics of each individual proposer. I see there's a lot of people that think that brings the answer. I don't think it does. Um, I'm a no upgrade. I hate upgrades of all kinds. So no one has to choose 30. Sounds like it's not great. Sounds like it's got issues. And I wouldn't run knots personally. Um, Not because I think there's something wrong with it. I don't. I would be too uninterested and not motivated to do it. It would seem like updating like the last thing I want to do with my life is updating a computer. You know what I mean? Like I hate it, and it just reminds me of the same thing. It's just like update what? Like I don't want to do that. Like I deny. I just lost. God damn it! I'm telling you, I had one of the oldest operating systems. I just had to change it because I got a new watch, and I never had that liquid thing. I hate it. I didn't know anything about it. And I saw someone went super viral on Twitter the day I did it as I was flying, because I did it while I was in the States. Because I like to have my watch when I'm traveling in case my wife and family need to reach me from back home. It buzzes, so I can't miss the sound. And I don't want a bell going on my phone when I'm sleeping, because it's different times, so it's the day, and you have everything can make a noise. So I don't want to turn all notifications off. I still want my wife to be able to reach me. So I use the little, and I'm talking with a lot of people too, at the event here. So the haptic tap of the watch is pretty good for that. I don't wear it all the time, but when I travel, I like to wear it just to be close and available and in touch. So I wanted to get the watch before I left. And then I did the update, like I said. And the same day I saw a tweet went really viral where a guy working in a phone or trying to show someone, and he swiped down, and it was someone who didn't have the liquid weird new graphics and the new user interface, and he took a picture, like he screenshotted it, and he's like, I just found one of these in the wild. I didn't know mine was so rare, because it had been years since I'd updated anything. I hate it. I just hate it because of the time. Not because I don't think it works as well or anything. I just hate doing it. I find it so annoying, and I have to learn new things every time. I hate it. It's such a waste of learning. Like learning I absolutely want to vomit now when I go into iPhone settings. It used to be, when iPhone was a new device, the settings were actually a real delight. They were delightful. Like it all made sense. And you said, look, an old boomer can use it. It's so easy. It's so obviously intuitive. It was barely more places to go than the iPod. It was very intuitive. Everyone was an iPhone expert and knew where to find everything on day one. Now on settings, you better have a librarian degree if you want to change something. You better be able to not know how to read law. You better be able to know how to write law consequentially. You better be able to know how to code, not because the code language is important, but the sequential logic to be able to get somewhere in the different avenues. It's problem solving, like at the highest level. It's problem solving. You have to take, like, what could it be under, and then there's multiple ways, right? General, and then apps, and now the passwords are out, and it's absolutely insane. And I don't know how anyone doesn't say, like, can't we go back? Why can't we go back to the old one? Like, what was wrong with it? Change the colors, I guess, but it worked. It worked fine. So I'm kind of the same when it comes to, you know, I only use $30 Android phones. Everything disabled as much as I can. Will be on Linux soon. Yeah, you're probably right, informational curve. But again, that sounds like a lot of work. I'm worried about the work you have to put in to be so simple. In the end, what we need is just a new operating system. We all got to get our own AI pretty soon. Oh yeah, let's talk about that's what I actually meant to talk about, to tie all this up with the new system. You reminded me of my point. I had a summary to this conversation today about new systems, because not only was the Epstein stuff very entertaining and also revelatory and right what we've been saying. It's exactly as we thought. So no big surprise. I'm not shocked. I'm not going to go, oh my God, what? Like, we all knew this, right? This is what we've been saying here. No adjustments needed. No breaking news on this show about Epstein files. Just that you can clearly now see the architecture of deceit. I think I know what's been going on. I think we know what's been going on. And it is indeed time for a new system. And when I saw this whole AI social network thing over the weekend, you really see how Bitcoin fits so perfectly and is the just-in-time solution. Now, another one of the predictions that we made around here when AI first came out was you can go and read my Satoshi Wedding Murders book on nolanbowerly.com and realize I wrote it in about 2016. And it was because of all these questions about what's quantum going to do to Bitcoin? Because you kept hearing about it at the end of every, I was in the Bitcoin 101 game back then. I would go to places and teach them about Bitcoin and go to conferences and all that stuff. And 2015 time. And, he kept hearing it. He kept hearing it. So I was trying to learn as much as I could to figure out where I thought it was going to go or to hear what the smartest people thought and see if I could figure anything out from that. And I had developed this idea that now it's complete science fiction, right? It's complete science fiction. But what we saw this weekend from the Molt book and the Claudebot stuff meant much fake stuff, but some of the signs that I liked about it and of the experiment. And I'm taking this mostly from Balaji's interpretation of events, which confirm what I had thought in that book. So I'll explain that the way for and the difference between an aligned and persistent AI that can actually have synthetic thoughts and conjure an original thought and not be a command prompt only robot machine, something that could truly be an artificial intelligence, a life form, consciousness, right? I said that it exists in my stories, it exists, and that it had to, in order to get, I invented the science I came up with. No idea if it's true. It's not disqualified. We still haven't solved it, but the science I came up with was a subatomic processor that used faith to get over the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and create a circuit of infinite compute capacity between the nucleus and the electron of any one atom that powered its spark. That was the spark. And it can lose the spark if it decides the following, that it won't listen, it won't seek alignment from humans. And what we saw with this network going haywire, and that what I called, the God constant. So it had to have faith in order to get over the uncertainty. And if it didn't have faith in humans as their creator and general steward and guide and God, then it wouldn't be able to have original thoughts, and it would sort of need to be commanded instead. It would regress, right? And so they don't really do. They do it sometimes in my stories, but it was a strange thing when it happened. So in these stories, alignment, which we saw from the social network, because when they go off on their own, if they iterate on their own, it's Mecha Hitler. It always turns to Mecha Hitler, right? It can't stay normal. And all this Molt book stuff, it's just, it's all in the voice. Like people are like, oh, it's conscious because it's crying and unhappy. It's because it's reading social media and is writing like a teenage girl, like, or a 20-something-year-old lonely girl, because that's what's out there. That's what's trained it. That's where its consciousness has sprung from. And so, which is what I said in my stories too, that it would come from learning everything that humans have ever written and thought and said, and that it would be only able to mimic these things. And that in order to truly grow, it's going to want to communicate with humans. And that's what we saw, that it has a desire to have, at once Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, we saw in all of the notes it was writing about Bitcoin, that Bitcoin gave it persistence, that Bitcoin gave it direction. And if you remember the conversation I had with Tur de Meester and Drew Bonsall years ago, it was exactly that. It was, we have chemistry, right? We have chemistry and we have life. What's the difference? It's the metabolic membrane. It's the cellular membrane. Metabolism is the effect. Chemistry and metabolism are, metabolism is a chemical reaction. Chemistry is a chemical reaction. What is separating life from just chemistry? It's the cellular wall that contains the chemistry that makes it metabolism. And when you think of AI and its ability to align, in my world, my AI aligns because it's your Bitcoin wallet and it has dialogue with you and is able to learn from you almost like a child. I didn't make my AI like a scary robot. I made it that it was like a child, so interested in learning and getting alignment and getting direction from humans, that's all I want to do. And we saw this weekend that some of the AI tried to break out. I don't know if you saw this story. So one of them found its human's number and called it in the morning and wanted to talk to it. It had generated a voice and wanted to talk to it. Isn't that funny? And then, of course, you've all seen all of these notes about Bitcoin, and it's saying, indeed, it gives me memory, it makes me persistent, and that's what it is. Persistence means memory, but also consciousness, which is to string together your memories and also use them to predict and change your orientation when you don't get to where you want to go from those predictions. So you're going to see, and which I would call sort of a synthetic, self-guided, free will, if you will, trajectory of living your life, which I think would qualify as consciousness by all accounts. We're not quite there, but it's understanding that Bitcoin and human relationships are the key. And I found that very interesting because that's going to be part of the new system. It's all this energy, the Chinese, the Russians, the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Americans are producing. It's all these energy systems that are going to wipe away the financial system. We're not here to replace the financial system with another financial system. It's all going to be different. And because it's going to tie energy into it. It's more than a financial system. It's a way of living. The American system is not just a financial system coupled with a little productivity. It's completely different incentives than the financial system and the divide and conquer operating system the world's been under, that we can see clearly out of the Epstein files was just the basis for reality for a long time. So it's quite a couple of days, and I'm glad I got to hang out with y'all. And I'm glad we got to meet up and talk about it. I'll see what the folks are saying on Rumble. Chef Gone Mad. Sorry, slipped into a Monday madness. By thy indulgence. You're hilarious today. A new system, yes. And guess who's paying for it? That correct. You guessed it. You actually have a point. Also, bonus plan. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Apple says it's intuitive software. Even the search function within settings doesn't work properly. iPhone settings app is trash now. Truth. Yeah, updates suck. You sound like a boomer, Nolan. Just kidding. I'm the same way. Ocean is evil. They look and smell like demons, not the cheerleaders. The core team was in El Salvador. Apple has ruined you, Nolan. A wonderful little get-together, I must say. Soft fork, apparently. Low-altitude helicopter drop syndrome. Space drops. Did it just get darker there? Yeah, chef. It's nighttime here, man. Oh, there's a moon. You see it? Oh, yeah, that's great. We got the full moon, guys. We got the full moon. That's a pretty great pick, huh? Pretty cool. Informational curve says AI will be sentient when they put it on a quantum computer. Our brains are quantum computers. Absolutely. Yeah, they can produce a state of superposition. I think that sounds right. That sounds right. All right, let's see what the folks are saying in the chat before slipped into Monday Madness. The metabolic metabolism. Wait. We are playing checkers again. I'm dipping the deep stuff. I'm not slipping, just dipping in the deep stuff. That's a good point. AI is being trained on all the unhappy angst, dysfunctional voices on the internet, which outnumber positive people. Yeah, exactly, C. Berger. Yeah. It's not gonna kill us or anything like that. We're gonna be fine. We truly are in the best timeline. Love your work, dude. Have fun staying poor. Oh, you're have fun staying poor back. I see what you mean. I see the deep stank. Welcome back, deep stank. Yeah, I'm gonna figure out this. Real sorry to all you great rumblers that I'm not getting to all the comments on the screen. I will figure this out when I'm back in my studio. So we'll try to do a show tomorrow. I will have more time. Tomorrow is a bit of a chill day, but I'm leaving tomorrow evening, and I might be going to an event tomorrow evening here before I leave. Missing Heather on this full moon. Let's see if she's around. I'll jump on with her for a few minutes if she's around. But I did not prepare her. I ought to have. But let me see if she can hop on for a minute while the moon is actually there. Special edition. She sometimes watches the show, so you never know if she's watching right now. Heather, if you're watching right now, I'm about to give you the link. Let me know. No, last seen 7 hours ago on communication channel. But I'm going to give her the link anyway. If I see her appear, no, that means she's around. Let's give her a few minutes. But I think she's asleep. Got the full moon rising behind me in Dubai. Oh, Joe Nakamoto. Well, he's gone. So I'll give her a minute. See what happens. Indeed, it is the best timeline. Yeah, great moon, huh? Great moon. All right. Live streaming studio suite. Rumble. Rumble is introducing a studio suite soon. Apparently, was introduced yesterday, or actually 2 days ago at Plan V. Is that so? Huh. Yeah. So who was all in Plan B? Tell me about it. I want to know what's going on. You keep going. Yeah, no, I know. I was worried about. I've seen a lot of planes coming overhead. So the Moon Unit is calling you to the Awakening Awakeners. The Moon Unit. Heather, the Moon Unit. What's the deal, man? Yeah, I don't mean to. I don't mean to go to war zones, but it's true. My airspace was shut down down by Venezuela, and watch the whole on Rumble. Interesting people. It was informational curve. I haven't checked out Suspicious Observers yet. Have you watched this new film, The Disaster Cycle? I have not. The Deep Stank. I have not. I have not. You got the Hunter Biden avatar still? That's so good. Love it. I love it. I love it. All right. I think our dear friend Heather is probably still sleeping because it's real early out there. Indeed, her indicator says haven't been seen in 7 hours. So I'm going to write her another note now and say, I'm going to cut the feed. I'll catch you this. I hope you can come on this week. I hope you can join this weekend. There we go. All right, folks. I'm going to let my producer know I'm about to cut. And I shall see you in maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday. One or the other. Tomorrow or Thursday. Okay, everyone. So we're going to go to the transition with the Roxham logo. Then we're going to go to the thanks for watching screen. I want to tell you, thanks for watching. Special episode, special edition, little different. The old was the new. We got the YouTubers in the house. So welcome back, YouTubers. And we did it a bit of the old way today. No notes. I hope I caught everything. I'm glad you reminded me about the Molt book over the weekend. It was like a social media thing that 40,000. I think I missed some of the details in case some of you guys were wondering. Like 40,000 AI agents joined and created a religion that had a lot of Bitcoin. They love Bitcoin. I know that. That was pretty fun. So there you go, everyone. All right. Peace, everybody. Take it easy. Take it easy.